Courageous love now. Courageous love now. Courageous love now. Hello. Long time no connect. This is Lara Helena here. Courageous Lara from Courageous Love Now. And I have been off the microphone for a couple of months. My last podcast was in the middle of April. It is now the middle of July, so 3 months. And here I am, back on video, on audio. You can find me on YouTube at Harmonize 2, the word 1. And you can find me on my podcast at Courageous Love Now. I've wanted to drop in a number of times. I felt the inspiration and then I felt a pause. So I listened to the pause and knew that it had something more in store for me that I could then wait and share later. So what has happened since my last dropping into this channel? My last podcast was Remember Who You Are, remembering who you are and where you came from and why you're here. That was middle of April. So much has happened in the last 3 months, and I want to try to unpack this piece by piece, so I'm not going to do it all tonight in this one sharing. But I felt inclined today, the 11th of February. The 11th of February, where did that come from? The 11th of July, 2021. So, moving backwards. I was sharing a quite profound reflection in my last podcast around realizations that I was having about where I come from, about the energy in which my essence is from, around Christed light, around my family, my father and my mother, and my great love for them, bringing me into this world, and for Source. And since then, I went down a number of rabbit holes, much, much deeper than I could have ever imagined. And one of them was going to a retreat that was a plant medicine retreat with a number of different medicines that were offered. And I would love to spend the next 30 minutes to go a little more in detail of that journey. So, in stepping in, to the journey of my plant medicine retreat. Now, a little bit before this chapter, about 5 weeks, I began what is called The Artist Way. It's an amazing book that is for anybody truly, but it's for artists. And I started with a group online, and I was doing daily morning pages, weekly updates, and exercises. And I was in week 5 of my Artist Way journey when I went to this medicine retreat, this plant medicine retreat. I was on the train traveling to the retreat and writing a lot about the process that I was going through. And these 5 weeks leading up to was really supportive in getting crystal clear about my intentions of why I wanted to do this retreat. What was I really wanting to unravel, to unpack inside myself that somehow was not yet clear to me. And what I recognized was that there was a true parallel of a lot of the things that I brought up in my morning pages and what I actually didn't experience in this plant retreat. So I took a train a 6-hour train ride from Copenhagen, Denmark to Stockholm, Sweden, which is where the retreat was, and traveled by bus and by foot to finally arrive at this amazing house in the woods. And my anticipation, I don't want to call it anxiety. It was excitement and anticipation around what this weekend represented for me and what I knew, my higher self knew that it was about to embark on. My first evening was an open forum evening. There was not going to be any plant medicine served. It was more of a meet and greet with the other people at the retreat and a reconnect for people that have done past retreats that wanted to come and connect again. So it was a beautiful sharing. I got to meet about 12 people, 10 people that all had done these plant medicine retreats before, some only once, some many times, and got to hear a little bit their aftermath, what has happened since they've done the retreat, etc. And I was one of the last ones to share. And I did, excitedly, the intentions and the reasons for my being at that place and time. And it ended in a crescendo around really wishing to feel a deeper connection with my higher self and my inner child, and to blast away, to purge, get rid of, however you see it, that which was holding me back. And there's an analogy that I used a lot, was that I was once a dolphin that was able to swim freely in the ocean. And somehow through life, I got my back fin caught in a web. And I was able to look out at this beautiful, vast ocean, but I wasn't able to access it. So I knew that it was there. I knew what it felt like to be there, but I just couldn't access it. And I just wanted to get my fin out of the net. So that being said, moving forward, the next day came. We went through all kinds of explanations and gatherings and kind of opening rituals of meeting everybody and kind of sharing a little bit about ourselves. And then we got into the time of plant medicine time. So for any of you who have done these amazing remedies, you will probably relate, and those that don't will be like me, listening to a podcast, trying to understand or wanting to understand deeper what it is that ayahuasca, kambo, San Pedro, all of these different medicines can bring. So the first evening I did ayahuasca, and the whole setting of the environment and the space, the teachings, the preparation energetically by the guides was done so beautifully. And I felt very held in a safe space. I felt very held to be free and to be me. And so all of the participants sitting on their mattresses, we were in a giant room lined up on these small mattresses on the floor with a few feet between us, were served our first offering of the medicine. And we were then invited later to come back for a second dose. So I went in. I could feel my heart racing. I could feel my palms sweating with this excitement and this anticipation of everything that I had heard that this could potentially be. So I wanted to go in without expectations, but of course I had big, wide hopes. So I went in, closing my eyes, lying down in a position which I don't normally lie in to get myself out of a habitual mode. I saw everyone lying down on their backs and thought, I don't want to lie on my back. I might just fall asleep. I want to have this experience. So I laid the opposite way on my stomach with my head to the side, which is not a way that I ever lie to go to sleep. So I knew that I wouldn't fall asleep. And I waited. And I waited. And I observed myself, my senses. I felt the room, the sounds, the music. The music was divine. It was truly a key to help open the door. And before I knew it, they were making the announcement that whoever wished to could come back up to the front and get a second dose. And I was the first one up and went to go get my second dose because, frankly, I didn't feel anything. I laid back down and I waited patiently, listening, feeling, opening, trusting the process. And then the music somehow began to take me. I just couldn't sit still. I began moving and dancing on my buttocks, sitting in cross position. I'm lying down. I just was like moving with my hands, with my feet. Everything was just dancing and connecting. And then my breath started to move into the music. And more the music was talking to me and through me. And I started having full stories and visualizations of this concert or this experience of the music inside my being. And before you know it, I was laughing out loud and flowing and strolling to the rhythms of this music. I felt free, I felt connected, I felt safe in a place. Coming from a dance background, I feel very comfortable in my body. And then I started to analyze myself. I started to question, are you being a performer right now? Are you showing off for anyone who might be looking? And I felt kind of too in control, too perfect in the moment, too connected to the music that it was so easy because I was able to just flow and jive and just be one with the music, which was familiar to me. So I laid myself back and I threw my hands up and over my head and they landed onto the wall behind me. It was a beautiful white wall that was hand plastered. You could see the cement brushes inside the paint strokes or underneath the paint strokes. And I laid there for a bit and listened. And the next thing you know, I got this connection with the wall. My senses, my hands, the back of my hands, my arms, started to really take in the texture and the feeling of the wall against my skin. And before you knew it, I had sat myself up, curved into the wall in a sideways position. My legs were fanned out to the left and my torso was rotated to the right. And my hands were pressed up against the wall with my elbows bent, kind of like a cactus pose. My cheek pressed against the wall and listening to the music, just fanning itself down the wall like a waterfall into my ears. And the music and the wall were connecting with me in a way that I could have never expected. And all of a sudden, I felt like my torso, my hands, my face were leaning on the floor and my feet were actually, and my legs were on the wall. And the whole room took a paradigm shift. And I started to move and shift myself, and I felt right away inside my mind a surrender of control. Once this paradigm shift dropped in, I could feel an opening of, your imagination is now free, Lara. Go wherever you want to go. And this place of being in control, the dancer, the performer, was gone. Now I was in deep connection with the present moment and my surroundings and what was happening inside me. My fingers started to move across the walls. My arms extended out and up. And I began a relationship and a connection to this wall that ended up going on until the very end of the night. So it must have been at least 3 hours that I was connected with this wall. I became a lizard climbing the wall. I became a superhero. I was a plant, a vine connected to the wall. I was Jesus on the cross. I was the wailing wall, crying before the wailing wall in Israel. I had so many different visualizations come up. That it took me on a ride. It was truly magical. It was truly new in a way that I knew something had happened. I mean, by the end, I was so in love with the wall, I didn't want to leave. The announcer, the guide said, you know, you can leave at any time. We've now wrapped up our session, so you're welcome to go back to your room, or you can stay here and sleep the night. And by the time I opened my eyes, I think there were only 2 or 3 people left in the room, and I was there, crouched before the wall. I had, at that time, my feet and my hands on the wall. I had such a connection that I wanted my whole body to be connected to the wall. So it might sound super funny, and people might say, oh, that was a crazy drug trip. But what it gave me in the aftermath, as I left and I opened my eyes and I bowed before the wall and thanked the wall for this lesson of surrendering and shifting my paradigm and opening and expanding my imagination to a place that I had never been. And it felt like I went into multiverses. I allowed myself to be that which my imagination served me. And I was transformed. And I left with tears and love, and I went one last time over to touch the wall, put my hand on the wall, and just say thank you. Thank you for this incredible teaching. And then I went up to my room and went to sleep. Now, this journey, of course, there are a lot of other intricacies that I could go into, but this being the lesson for myself in acknowledging my control, acknowledging where in my life I control things, where I hold on and where I feel safe, because control is certainly a reaction to not wanting to be unsafe. So you take control to say, okay, I feel I'm safe because I know I'm in control. And that surrendering of control, that was like gently taking the clutches of my hand from the reins and saying, okay, I let go, I surrender, that I trust this journey, I trust the process, I trust myself, I trust this medicine to show me the way to something more. And arriving in a place where the visualizations, the music, the sensations in my body were all dancing in unison and giving me an experience and showing me how powerful we truly are. The next day, when we came down for breakfast, everyone was kind of, starting to share and talk about their experience. And I was listening. Some people were disappointed. They said they didn't feel anything. Some people felt sick. And of course, we were told that everyone's experience was going to be different. And if you hear sounds or people being sick or etc., to just focus on your own experience, that everyone would be taken care of and supported. And like life, everybody's experience of one thing is completely different. So I knew that, it was not so important to share, to talk about the experience. I did have 2 wonderful girls on either side of me that I had already connected with. We did chime in together in laughter, and we shared a little bit about our experience and our connection to the sound and to laughter and to joy. And something that I did also recognize in the period before I went into the surrender was there was a couple of songs that were more mainstream songs with lyrics, songs that I knew that I'd heard many times. And it somehow pulled me into a linear world where I felt like I was a backup dancer on a stage with a singer and doing choreography. And of course, this is something familiar to me, so it was not bizarre to be imagining this at all. But this was around the point that I recognized that I was like, oh, you're falling into a program. You're going into a place that you know. That's because you're listening to something that's familiar. So as soon as we went back into music that was unknown, foreign sounds, foreign instruments, different languages, etc., I was able to expand my imagination. I was able to stretch my mind past the paradigm that I was stuck in, and which was exactly what I wanted to get out of. So in looking back now, it's just over 2 months ago that I came back from this retreat. And this specific night, I did do 3 nights, so I will share more of the other nights later. This lesson that was taught to me was when, as a creative person, as a spiritual being, there is so much on the other side of the walls of our own paradigms that if we are allowing ourselves to let go of the reins of what drives us forwards, whether it's our ego or our passion or our motivation to conquer or to create or manifest something, if we're able enough to trust ourselves, to fully surrender that control to that control, surrender it over, and saying, I trust that there's something higher here, and I really want to explore it. I want to understand. I want to learn from it. So it is. It will happen. And that is the gift, that just getting out of our own way, which is exactly the analogy of the dolphin being caught in the net. Something in me got myself caught in a net. Nothing in life just took me and got me shut down. I allowed something to trap me in a control matrix, in some aspect of myself that was being held back from being fully liberated and surrendering and flying through the universe, flying through my infinite possibilities inside my mind. So I suppose the message for me in this to say to you now is, don't underestimate the power of surrendering. Surrendering doesn't mean just surrendering control and crying your eyes out and saying, okay, I surrender. It is a liberation. Surrendering is not surrendering over to something else. It is surrendering to yourself. Because we've learned so many constructs throughout life, that ideas, belief systems, paradigms that we get stuck in. And not only outside of us, all around us, from our parents and our society and religions, cultures, but the construct within ourselves, how we maneuver, how our own awareness can have blind spots. And I know that. I'm humble to that. That's why I was at that retreat, because I knew that I had blind spots. And I was like, I know that I'm a wise old soul. I know I'm spiritually evolved in many ways, but boy, I got a lot more growing to do. And I got some serious blind spots and some shadows lurking underneath the rug. And I want to clean them out. I want to microblast these guys out with light, with the light of possibility, with the light of awareness, with the light of possibility in imagination. My possibility, the possibility that I create. Now, in this situation, I was supported by medicine, which is why I went, because I thought that I could push myself in this direction or that direction to get to that place where I felt liberated and free. And I couldn't get there. So I sought out support. And boy, I will tell you, it was a major support. And now I'm going to wrap this up here, because I want to make this short, because I want to make this a 3-part experience of doing ayahuasca and this plant medicine and the power of it to guide us to our more authentic and true self, to show us how to be present and to listen to the subtleties, that they can be portals to pull us through to something that we've never expected. Because when you look around life, walls, doors, pictures, tables, chairs, nothing is what you seem it to be. Everything is so much more. And that wall that I had a true love story with, I felt like I lived a lifetime through it. A wall, a beautiful plastered wall. I even had the sense that I could feel the men who scraped the cement over the top of the wall and painted it. Like I could feel their love and their creativity in the wall. I even, as I said, sensed that the different aspects of my journey on the wall opened me up in a way that I was crying my eyes out. I was laughing out loud. I was wailing in ecstasy, because each one of the avenues that I explored in this relationship to what this wall was giving me was opening up something through me. There was a point where I was on my knees and my whole torso was pressed against the wall, and my second chakra and pelvis and everything, my thighs were pressed against the wall. And I was imagining, this was the moment I was imagining the wailing wall and thinking about releasing all of the burden, the toxins, the shadow from my body, and this wall saying, hey, I got you. Just give me everything. Just give it to me. I got you. Of course, this wall is representative of source, of the universe, of God, however you want to see it. But I felt its support. I felt its strength. It was solid, and it had me. And my whole body was trembling. I was sweating. The wall was hot when I pulled away from it and felt it. My whole front of my torso was wet from sweat. I mean, like I said, I was 3 hours attached to this wall. And it showed me that everything can be anything that you want it to be. We feel like we're alone and we don't have support. But a simple wall can be the Christ consciousness, can be a wailing wall in another country, can be a jungle gym for a lizard. Don't underestimate your imagination and the power of your own power. It is unlimited. And this medicine has shown me that. It has shown me the access to myself in a way that, the last 2 months has been an explosion of gifts and magic that I look forward to share with you all. But for now, in keeping it under 30 minutes, I wanted to share my night 1 of my plant medicine with ayahuasca journey with you all. The shifting of my paradigm, the surrendering to the possibilities of unlimitedlessness. Limitlessness, right? I am unlimited. So thank you for tuning in. I will be back very soon with part 2 and part 3 of this journey. And with even more magic right around the corner from that too. All right. Beautiful human beings out there across the beautiful blue planet, Mother Earth and Father Sky surrounding us with all the possibilities that are there awaiting us. I thank you. I thank you for tuning in. I thank you for listening and being here with me, whatever it gives you, whenever you listen to this. This is Lara Helena, Courageous Lara, signing off on July 11th, 2021. Peace, love, and harmony. Courageous love now. Over and out. Hello, all you beautiful listeners. It is that time for a little shameless self-promotion. If you've enjoyed this podcast or any of the previous podcasts I have recorded, I would be so grateful if you could subscribe and rate and possibly review down below. So whatever your podcast listening app is, there is usually an area where you can leave a review of what you thought. Even just a few words can make a huge difference. And as I am new to podcasting, it will make even a bigger difference to just get the word out there and also see what you thought. Thanks so much for your support and keep on listening.